good day to you. This is an experimental production of Anagalactic and Extragalactic Interactive Online University. Forgive me, I am just a bit winded. I've just returned from our local park where I became under the influence of an herb that grows wildly upon the earth and gets one stoned. Stoned, yes. And so I was talking to myself as I entered the park. I was in my usual mathematical reverie, pondering the recencies of the developments in the ongoing discovery sequence which I've found my weary feet trotting and becoming lighter and gayer with the moment. It's been 15 years total. It's been 6 years since the campfire, which destroyed my home in paradise and removed me to Chico. But as I was saying, I was entering the park in my usual geometric reverie. I am a morphologist, a term which science will come to understand if I get my way to any fractional degree whatsoever. I am embarked on a great adventure, but as I entered the park, I suddenly came to my senses, as it were, and
This was prior to becoming stoned. I'm an extremely
powerful drug here. And I want you to get a good look at this, you children. Don't be afraid of this, although it does involve fire. You can see that's a charred tip. Yes, it is. Quite out there, that should make it focus. Look at that against me forehead, me shiny forehead. So as I was entering the park in order to get stoned, which I am now, I know, isn't this exciting? Don't you want to hear the end of this tremendous story? Oh, it just gets better and better. This is just the beginning of a journey into Wonderland. It was for me, and it's been for 15 years, really. I began a course in astronomy, the queen of sciences. This was for certain personal reasons, which I need not go into now, but my wife had just died of cancer at the age of 28. This is back in a place called Placerville. Placerville is where gold was discovered in California, which is where I live. So I entered the park and experienced this magnificent shift. It must have taken, oh, you know, these things are timeless, are they not? But in retrospect, it must have consumed less than 5 seconds. And I felt this because I felt it before. When you're in one state of mind, and some monitoring portion of your mind, like something up in a balcony with binoculars watching you from within, I suppose Freud or somebody would have a name for this thing, but it's watching you from within your skull while you're in this reverie, and it says, shift, execute shift, and like this order goes forth on your enterprise, so to speak, and suddenly you get the order. Shift your attention to the actual now. I believe a man named Tully, if I'm pronouncing his last name right, a man whom I became acquainted with in Santa Cruz, where I lived, about 8 years ago, it must have been. My favorite place on earth. But here in Chico, there's a little park that's very close to me, which must serve as the surrogate for the entire Pacific coast. with its fog and moderate climate and healthy, conducive to humanity, sort of a place to live, whereas Chico is slightly removed from the ordinary environs of the coast by approximately 100 miles as the raven flies. But I have this little park in which I like to repair from time to time in order to get stoned. This that I showed you before is an industrially produced joint. It is. I know it's funny, but my stories tend to get better as they drag on, so hang in there tight. I'll have amusing audio to accompany this, but as I create this, I've just come from that park, where as I entered the park, in order to get stoned, I was ruminating, lucubrating about mathematics and physics and reality and whatever else I'm studying these days. 15 years after my wife died, 8 years after Santa Cruz, and 6 years after the campfire, which destroyed my home and all my work, on which I had been working for approximately, you would have to say, upwards toward 10 years. Well, poof, there it goes, as ash over the Nevada desert, where I've driven, but let's not go there right now, because we're in the park. It's a delightful little park, really. It's so tiny that it could be overlooked as being a park at all. But it has a name, and it's owned by the city, and there are signs
right under the tents that are always there with homeless people saying there's no overnight camping here.
But we have the Fed to help out in those sorts of situations when there's a sudden glut of hobos. And the only reason I mention this is I did have to pass the hobos who live in the park and have for as long as I've lived here, which is about 5 to 6 years. Well, 5 years here. I lived in another part of Chico, which is the first place I lived since becoming suddenly homeless for the second time in my life. So I've been homeless twice. Oh, so when I see them, I give them money, yes. Fuck yes, any one of those poor beggars turns to me with their helpless eyes and says please, and then they can't even finish the sentence, they're so delirious. I simply give them $2. Now I have given 1 and I have given 5, and sometimes I've given none, and you must balance all this together in the great ledger, but I did have to pass the hobos as I entered the park. Now I've always been on friendly terms with the hobos for obvious reasons. I'm not long far from being one of them a third time, usually. Most of my life I've worked in computing, so I am somewhat of a scientist, but not really, come on. We all know what a scientist really is, and I don't count myself one of those never not know how. I'm pretty much the opposite, really. Most of me life, for many decades, I shunned science and had nothing to do with it. I loathed it because I was a Bible scholar, yes. So you're dealing with one of the former elite. We're always defrocked, we're just defrayed, you know, the robes come off, everybody looks and laughs, and then they don't care about you anymore. So that's the end of religion, and I turned to science. But as I say, it was quite a wrench. It took the death of my wife, the Princess of Ukraine, but we won't go there. You see, my stories get better and better, but I don't like to deviate because now I'm a scientist and I have a story to tell that shouldn't run off in all directions, should it? Then it's not really a story, it's an epic. So, I'm entering the park and I suddenly realized the promise that I had made to myself 3 years ago. And I looked at the prospect in front of me and I said, well, you'll die trying, so you might as well throw that in. And so I did. And now I'm saying it for the second time, I'll die trying in the prospect ahead. And I've said this more than once in my most recent presentations, so I have to take it seriously, because I review all of my videos, of course, before release. although it doesn't usually matter, I go, no, leave it in, they need to know all about you. Because when you live alone for 15 years, you start to think about yourself. It's inevitable, you might as well give in somewhat, but then it becomes, something that you need to wake up out of. And for 3 years, I've been immersed in mathematics, which is my bane of my former existence. You only live twice, my friend. My career in mathematics requires, apparently according to this guy with the binoculars, it could be a woman inside me, I don't care. It could have tentacles inside me, and it still is holding these binoculars with one pair of its tentacles. Perhaps its face is binoculars and it just sees that way, but it's part of my brain and there's nothing I can do about it, thank God. Because this thing takes care of me. It's not a slep to awake. No, it's not water, it's not smelling salts. No. Nor is it like waking up in Inception while you're falling off a bridge and then you transmute to another time dimension. Well, this is quite popular now, but let's not get off on sidetrack, shall we? I woke up basically entering the park realizing what I had promised myself 3 years ago. I had finally accomplished. 525 of these YouTube videos preceded by at least 100 home videos that I never released to YouTube because it never even entered my skull to go out to YouTube. That was not part of the original prospect. I made the videos though for some reason, and it must have been unconscious. Perhaps another one of those things in my brain with the binoculars that sees when I don't. But I ended up studying astronomy, which got me into, believe it or not, quantum mechanics, which even to me, even today, sounds rather a remote stretch between rather two dubiously removed extremes, the simply tiniest tiny thing of the tiny world, and the biggest massive big black hole thing of the big black universe. The bouncing hole of the black universe, I suppose it's called now. I really don't care about fantasies. Fantasies I do not associate with science, but these days it's kind of hard to avoid the word. And you can see I didn't really want to tell you about what happened in the park, did I? But really, it has been 3 years now that I've been producing on YouTube. I estimated recently, by doing simple division, 3 years is what? Let's just say it's 1,000 days. It's pretty close, isn't it? I think it's within 40 or so of 1,000 days. So say 1,000 days. And I've made 525 videos. Well, that's one every 2 days. So clearly, I've been methodical in some way, certainly in the counting sense, over a long period of time. I've regularly produced these presentations, as I now call them, but I often slip into the old habit of calling them lectures. I think we all have a certain association with these two words which differs, and lecture has a certain odious nuance, a bouquet, lecture, but presentation, isn't that nicer? Which would you rather go to, a lecture or a presentation? So you see, I prefer presentation. And pardon my hog sounds. I'll put in a hog. I should make a note. Where am I at? 14 minutes. Oh, that's a long time, isn't it? I just need to make a quick note. Get to see the old professor at work here at 14 minutes. Hog sound audio. I can do this. This is one of the things I had to learn how to do. Why I didn't want to do any of it. Video? What? That's for masters. That's like asking me to do calculus. Well, it turns out when the campfire hit, and I was the first person to see it before dawn, I didn't report it because there was no wind. Anyway, I went back into my home on Pence Ridge, is where the fire actually looks like it was heading for my house. If it had done nothing else except attack the ridge and just spare the city, it still would have gotten me. And all along this ridge line where the fire had to breach it, generated its own wind. Unbelievable. And how it got there, there's this beeline that it just made through barren wilderness and just fire, just like a fuse. And then when it got to the base of the cliff, it thought about it and figured it would need to generate a wind. So it did, and it rose up and firebombed the city like Dresden. So I was equivalent to Kurt Vonnegut in this small sense. I would have to say Kurt Vonnegut's experience is quite a bit more dramatic and is probably much more worthy of a book than my experience. But it was rather remarkable that I was the first person to see the fire, which was destined to strike at my eyes. It was trying to murder me. Well, I know there's other people in the city, don't get me wrong. But from my personal point of view, it sure looked like it was designed to just come get me. Wherever I was up on that ridge, it was going to fucking find me and burn me out. Well, it succeeded in doing that. It destroyed my life's work. If I had had a brain in my head and I had been up all night, obviously I had been up all night doing mathematics. Well, I was studying geometric algebra at the time. And while studying geometric algebra, I suddenly saw the way to understand the calculus perfectly. And so I admire geometric algebra to this day. It is still remarkably the best formulation of linear algebra in the history of science. So if you want to learn linear algebra, you want geometric algebra. It really is remarkable at the tattered corners of linear algebra. There's some magnificent attempts being made to break out of the labyrinth. As I produced in my last lecture of 3 hours length, by far my longest lecture, and I've returned to the word lecture again, you can tell. We'll get back to the park story in a moment. To complete my stoning in the park, where I'm entering the park a new man, released from servitude of 3 years' willful service to the dream of my life, which magnified itself beyond my wildest dreams, in which I'm capable of dreaming anything. It just suddenly, I entered a new realm. And so it's occupied me rather consistently for 3 years in order to achieve a goal which I just achieved yesterday. It took 3 days to upload the 16 gigabyte file. By far my largest upload. It took 3 days because I am on a budget. I used to have a broadband connection, which enabled me to upload as many as 2 to 3 videos a day, no problem. Not anymore. It takes at least a 24-hour cycle to upload anything now, because I'm on Wi-Fi, cheap Wi-Fi, yes. Well, when you're on a budget, you have to do these things in order to maintain the tuna supply for the cat. Once I got down to there's not enough money for tuna at the end of this month, I realized I had to change my ways, and so I downgraded. I was paying $80 a month, which apparently is exorbitant, but I could afford it because of certain windfalls that came my way following the fire, I'll just put it. It enabled me, whatever it is, we won't refer to that. No, this story has already wandered too far afield, has it not? But don't we have 2 stories going now? The story of me. Well, I thought I'd share my glory because, as I said, I am stoned to the Gilligan Islands. I'm higher than Gilligan's kite. Yeah, the girls are there too, and so are the 2 homos. In fact, Gilligan, I think, is the underdog in that homo relationship. Hey, little buddy. We're alone on an island and no way to get at these girls. What say you and me become buddies? Well, I accept that now. This is what I was raised with. It's like, they're getting me ready. You're going to find little buddies and big old sailors. And be ready for that. Well, I was not ready for it, but I found out at the pool hall what it was all about. I could deviate into a very interesting story there of great potential commercial success, because this is a wild one. But I did have my fling inadvertently on one drunken night, and engaged in what would have to be called these days, oh yeah, you definitely did it all right. But John Lennon, he had one of those nights, and he asked, the guy who, Brian, whatever his name was, gay faggot of the Beatles, and they loved him and he loved them, and so John said one night, give it to me, I want to feel it. And he said, no, John, I don't have any feelings that way for you. And I thought, my God, the British are civilized, aren't they? My God. No, I admire that, John Lennon. You can't do better than that, my friend. He wanted one up the tailpipe just to take it. I did not go that far. What happened was, just so you know, is I got a tongue up the ass. Now, if you're doing deep massage, which we regularly engaged in, he got a little wild one night since I had my yearly bottle of tequila that night, which means 2 thimblefuls, and then you could do anything to me. Well, apparently he knew that. He says, tequila is what I smelled like. I could smell it. So we're massaging each other, and this is great, man. My back. This fucker could massage like a bitch. So, he's an old man, he stinks, he's just hideous. But we loved him, it wasn't just me, he was known at the pool hall as the Greek. I still don't know what that means. And so we're massaging, and I'm like starting to snore, and I'm like in, loopy land, I'm just about to go to sleep, and he sticks his tongue up my ass. And I thought, well, that's friendly, I'm not going to resist, that's nice. And then he was done. And I swear I may never know what actually happened after that, but I doubt that anything happened. But that was my one fling. It was friendly. Hey, I'm a diplomat. I come from a family of diplomats. This is what happens to stoners. They start to reminisce and then they can't come back and you're stuck with them. That's it. And so to complete the story of entering the park and undergoing metanoia, change of mind, well, I experienced it right then and there. And you have levels of conscious awareness of what's actually happening to you. And this wasn't the first time that this had happened. I'm walking along in a reverie of numbers and relationships and levels and orders and all kinds of deep space and subatomic and quantum and time space and light speed, and reformulating it all in my head as I've been doing for 3 years. And suddenly this periscope, entity that lives in me, part of me, says, switch. I could do a whole skit on what I think happens inside my brain on these occasions. It's complicated, but it's pleasurable because you're being awoken from something that's relatively pleasant, or you wouldn't be doing it. This would be what I was doing. My number theory and just theories and philosophy and religion and politics and not much sex, but I managed to work it in. I just did, didn't I? Pretty good. So I'm going for it. I'm going into the octagon. This is my new prospect. You can see I've had several in my life. I hope you have too, because you don't want to have just one prospect in life because it becomes bleak. Because this thing inside you knows you should have new prospects regularly. You should be learning something. It's a scientific driver. We just want to learn because there's nothing better to do anyway. But it's pleasurable. We want to know more. But you gotta wake up out of that sometimes. What about Thanksgiving? If you go to the table with your family, obviously at my age there's not many of us left. But there's a new generation and I could be sitting with the youngsters. Now I'm an oldster. So it's really the same thing, just repeating. You got the old uncle. I'm Great Uncle Sam, by the way. Those are my initials, Sam. So I have this new name in Chico. I'm Sam. I'm just known as Sam. It's impossible to change now. So that's fine. So I changed it to, I have a title too. Great Uncle. I'm a great uncle. When I found that out, I thought about it. Great Uncle, Sam. Sam, Great Uncle. Great Sam Uncle? Sam Uncle Great. No, hold on. You see, this is kind of what I was thinking about going into the park. But my monitor said switch. Like, execute metanoia. That means change your mind. Change your mind? I was going into the park to change my mind. Big, I had this with me. This was a little bit longer, not more than an hour ago. It is wildly powerful stuff. It has wax. They've waxed it. Well, you can't take more than a half a hit of this without, if you're me with asthma, and I'm undergoing I'm not going to, you know what allergies are like at this season. Well, I have them. I didn't most of my life. Well, I did, but I was like an elephant seal. When I had allergies, what would happen is my face would just become, my lower face, lower than my nostrils, would become encased in what I could only call a goo. Isn't that a kind of a film or a layer of shiny snot all over fucking my lips, my chin, just bubbling, just coming up. You can see where it erupted and landed on the nose, and it's just still coming out. There's like little pieces of, there's no like green things, but there's going to be some white congealed stuff, just boogers in the making. There's no time for them to turn into boogers. It just pours out. I sneeze like 20 times as soon as I wake up. Just stand there. If you try to do something, you're fucked. This is the most dangerous time for someone in my condition, because you'll be sneezing while you're preparing toast and tea. You fucking set yourself on fire, man. You turn it on the burner, click, click, and then, your sleeve just drags over, poof, and suddenly you're on fire. Well, you gotta think about these things now. Because if you're sneezing, man, you're not doing anything else. You're just gonna sneeze. It's been likened to, let's not go there. But I told you, sex is not off the ticket now, because I'm going to the octagon. Hey, you see those girls? In between these bloody fights, they have these girls. And they're designed to be exactly what they look like. Well, let's stop the wrestling and start something with her. Well, not right there. But in your mind, you're like, hey, let's you and me, as an American would always say, it's you and I, not you and me. But I diverge, do I not, from my chief story, which is now multiplied into a cabinet of stories. Let's select one that we've put on the shelves. There's about 5 of them now. Well, this is how my stories go. Let's get a look at these eyes. My eyes, gee whiz, look at that. You gotta see that. I'll look at this later, though. I can see it. Oh, not really, but all right. Well, that's your filthy professor right up close. Oh, it's horrifying. Well, you can see I've given up on hygiene, although my hair is washed. There's a sense of reality. It does not rain here in any sense now. They're always switching levels, orders, stories, dimensions, time and space just move about at will. He's changing the flavor of what's going on. What are we doing? Well, we forgot. That's how that works. Short-term memory loss of cannabis smokers has got to be one of the most embarrassing effing things that's ever happened to me. And I've gotten concurrence. No, you're not alone. We've all done it. It's when you start a story, but you just had some weed. And then you get going, and people are listening because suddenly, you're actually telling some magnificently fascinating bullshit. And just wandering in all directions. You notice a pattern here? Yes. And then you forget what you were saying. And so you've stalled the punchline. You've developed a whole plot in your mind because you do this when you're trying to communicate. And then you're at the climax and you forgot the thread. You're not sure what you're even standing there doing. You may start to drool. It's just weird. And then you just want to die. Because everyone is like looking at you like they know, oh, fuck, he didn't even think enough of his own goddamn thesis to remember it. He's obviously a hypocrite. This is my biggest fear. Okay, so this is serious. And then you ask yourself some questions like, am I? Am I? You cringe. Like, am I one of them? And what would that be? I just forgot. I don't even know what I was going to say. That's how bad it is. I think it's delightful because it takes you down from your big high rocking horse. You're way up in the sky. Oh, look at me. I'm Mr. Professor. And then, no, not anymore, you're not. And now you're the dork. Look at his teeth. I'm sorry, but I can't smoke. Obviously, I can't smoke. I'm choking right now. Oh, it's rough. My sister had it all her life. And like the good big brother that big brothers can be, I totally did not sympathize with her at all. I didn't have it. Well, actually, I did. It's just that it was the weirdest form of allergic reaction every spring. I just cover my face with mucus. Every morning, there's just no way. If I tried to wipe it away, it would just come back until I left it alone. I just had mucus all over. I don't even know what I looked like. I like to think elephant seal. I really picture that. Even the great sea lions of the Pacific coast that I'll probably never see again, you see, this is what happens. You start reminiscing, the good old days, in the Cold War when men were men. And I wish we could just have a war and this nation would frickin' reunite pretty quick. Get your ass into the war effort. It's full-scale war in Ukraine with Russia, and we're starting to land in Lebanon and in Yemen. And, there's a landing, it looks like, oh my god, it looks like there's a report now. Looks like naval warships have entered Iranian waters and there are Marines on the shore. Well, that's unusual. And then 3 days later, your computer won't work. And your water runs cold and everybody is out of everything. Nothing works because there's an electronic mash. It just, because the sun has emitted a bolt of whatever it emits right at the earth, which has blasted it with an electromagnetic left hook. And everything is out and there's no communication at all. Except you hear a report that a thermonuclear device went off in Jerusalem. I think then men might start to fear. If that were to happen. Like all communication went out, but by word of mouth. Just by, there's still, emergency ways of traveling. And the word just got back, there's been a thermonuclear explosion in Jerusalem that's wiped out a 100 to 200 mile radius of the holiest city on earth. And now there's nothing there. No more Arabs, no more Jews, no more Semites, except Iran seems to have escaped most of the fallout. Now the United States is landing and heading for Tehran. With the Middle East absolutely a crater. And so Iran is the nearest habitable land, and now the oil wells are gushing because of the thermonuclear explosion, just one tectonic plate over. Where all the tectonic plates meet, this thermonuclear explosion goes off. So now it's revelation time. The earthquakes start. The moon turns to blood. The sea turns to blood. All the creatures in the sea die. Satan descends from heaven, lands on earth, and starts wreaking mayhem wherever he goes. And it's the time of the end, and the earth is in some discomfiture. All the angels manifest. There's frickin' UFOs of every description. They're firing at each other and firing at the earth. And something's going on, and you don't know what it is, do you, Mr. Jones? That day appears to be coming, but you don't want to be a prophet. They've never been liked, for pretty obvious reasons. Looks like the end is right around the corner, children. Well, that's why I do science instead. Because if you're going to have an escape hatch, I would choose science any day of the week, and my life proves that. So I've been blessed, I got to admit. So yeah, I'm entering the park and just feeling a little bit better about myself than I did 3 years ago, in the sense of prospect. When you're looking forward, it looks impossible. When you're looking forward, yes, this forward, it looks impossible. But when you look back and you say to yourself, it looks like I achieved all of my goals and far beyond my wildest dreams, I would have to say that is a valid moment for elation. In the small world of a desert professor, this can be significant, so I hope you sympathize here. I'm happy. And I'm glad that I was able to produce that 3-hour lecture yesterday. Is it tedious? I've already heard it 4 times. Oh yeah. I'm not changing anything. There are some mistakes too, and I always manage to work in some mistake. I think it's an unconscious thing that I have to do. Because if you're not making mistakes, you're not really trying very hard. And I wouldn't say that making mistakes is an index of progress, but it's pretty close match. If you're making mistakes, I'd be willing to bet that you're learning something. And so make all the mistakes you want, but maybe not all the mistakes you can. You want to you learn to avoid mistakes if possible. Well, is it possible? To a degree it is, of course. Yes, you better hope to God it's possible, yes. Oh, it is. And so I proved that to myself. No, I'm not retarded. Oh, yeah. Oh, it was rough in the 60s when I grew up. They were retards for real. And they were called that, and so was I, because of the obvious match. Yeah. I can no longer deny it. No, I acted retarded. I still do. I mean, here's how I'd like to rephrase that. We're all beginners. We always will be beginners. And when I look at these bigwigs, these top notches, these people in the limelight, it can be a personality conflict too because of envy and jealousy. It all goes in. You look at these bigwigs and you kind of love them and you kind of hate them and you're not sure which, but it's a love-hate fucking thing. Because they're doing what they want and you wish you were doing it, but you're not, they are. So yeah, it's like you start to, rub your knuckles. It's like, fuck, I think I want to be one of the big boys now. And so far you try to muscle your way in, that's not going to work, I don't think. I don't do muscle, my friend, because, yeah, I think you see why. First you have to have them, then you can perhaps use them. Well, that goes for the mental arena, too. I've said many times this is ruthless, this is cutthroat, this is dog-eat-rat. I've said the octagon, the cage, get in there naked, just wear a jock strap, you know, maybe with a titanium liner. Although I think it should be, you know, go for that. I mean, gouge the eyes? Absolutely. Just whatever. Just two naked men just come out and fucking fight to the death. That's what they used to do in Rome. It's going that way, too. You might see it in perhaps a tumultuous... You probably could see it now. Oh, now that I think about it, oh shit. You know, it's like the tongue up the ass. Well, it exists, and it might come your way. Then you'll have to deal with it in old age. I never dealt with it throughout my life because it didn't matter. But in old age, everything matters, doesn't it? Well, because it's your last chance to evaluate anything. So I'm pretty happy that I achieved my goals. Which became many because this exfoliated by itself. It was a discovery vector. I'm saying this in the past tense now for reasons which I carefully defined, so that's 41 minutes, that's enough. Thank you for tuning in, those few of you who have. And those of you in the future who tune in to hear more, because there's going to be a lot more. Oh boy, it's just beginning now. This has got to go live, and that'll be the next technology that I learn, is how to go live. We need to have a live audience now. So I'll be looking into that. If it costs money, the answer is no. So it's going to have to be free. Free to you too. Always free to you. I don't deal with money. I think it's the right time to just, and I'll say no more. That is good enough. I can let that rest. I do not deal with money. Just believe it. I have to, so you should. Because who would want to admit that? I fully admit it. I've proved it, but I'm also parsimonious, so I think you need to have some kind of wisdom to get through that labyrinth, but I was blessed. Come on. You know, I'm a religious man, so I'm just coming out in the open. I'm coming out of the closet. I believe, okay? Well, however you interpret that, I hope it's as positive as I interpret it. I believe in a designer. That's how you say it in science. Do you think that makes me happy? I can't even tell you how happy that makes me to be able to identify the one that I love by his actual name. I sought that all my life. I want to know the name of the one who blesses me. I don't really see much else to religion, but it seems sufficient to me. If you believe you've been blessed, you should probably give thanks if you're a decent human being. I do. Openly. I could say something about Richard Dawkins. Richard Dawkins has become something of an icon in my life. I treat Richard Dawkins like dog dirt, okay? And I've said many times that I don't hate him. I think that's pretty hypocritical. But you see, in science, it really is this difference, is we don't hate each other as humans. Well, that's quite a delicate line to walk when you start getting envy and jealousy in on the picture. You're starting to rub your knuckles, you know, just dust off the old knuckles. I think I got one last blast left in me, you know. Just go out there, just not swinging, but flexing. Hi, boys, I'm here now, and I'm one of you. Welcome me. Oh, really? Are you indeed here among us? Yo, ho, 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 yo. So we need to go live. That's what I'm saying. So you can see it. As I field rational questions, well, there are going to be some interesting moments along the way. Count on that. You seem like you don't have any credentials at all, and what the hell are you talking about? Something to this effect is what I'm saying. Because wouldn't you? Wouldn't you want to listen to that? Fuck, I would. Well, I will be part of it now. It's not going to be just listening to it. I'm going to be the one being listened to. Oh, it goes psychic, psychological. Psyche. Yeah, oh my God, your psyche? We don't want that. Yeah, we don't need your psyche. Well, you've got it because you got Richard Dawkins's psyche. Well, you're going to get mine too. You know why? Because you have Richard Dawkins's. Yeah, Richard Dawkins isn't going up there alone. I'll be right there trying to get in and shoulder him off the stage so I can take his podium. Wherever there are reigning champs, I will enter immediately and make a ring. We are going at it now. That will be the message. I'm here and now you get someone to beat up. Let's see you do it. Let's see you pound me to snot. After what I've been through with allergies, you may have a surprise ahead. I'm ready to cope with the snot. Are you ready to cope with bile? Because that's what's going to come out of you once I pound your gallbladder into a green meanie. Now let's go! It's just going to be like that. And over what, I ask? Nay, 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 nay. But this is the attitude that I will have. It's like The Godfather. When The Godfather, in that tremendous scene, I mean, we're talking about three of the greatest actors of all time, all in the same room, playing Godfather for us. This is an intimate moment between Marlon Brando and Al Pacino, I believe it is. No, it's one of the sons. Don't you ever reveal your emotions to these bastards. You keep it in the family. Don't ever do that again. It's like, okay, Godfather. Well, better, yeah. Well, that's what this is. And the cannabis short-term memory loss is kicking in, so we better pick up the pace here. So that's 47 minutes, 48. It just turned to 48. Thank you for tuning in. You 3 to 4 devoted followers. It's been a tremendous ride, and now through the solstice, we're quite a ways through the equinox now. There are 4 of these a year, so I use these as natural quarters for dividing up circular time. And it is circular, isn't it? Just keeps coming back around. Circular, continuous time. That's where we're at in the lecture series, the continuity of time. Would you like to talk about that right now? I think that's why you tuned in. It wasn't to hear about my past, or my walk in the park, or my metanoia, or my sense of accomplishment, and my sense of wonder, and my sense of bliss. That's not what you tuned in to hear. You're tuning in because now you need it. May God, Allah, all the names of the mighty one that no one can see, no one has ever seen, but is definitely there according to science. May that being, that consciousness, that entity, that supreme love, bless you forever. So good. Thank you for tuning in. It means a lot to me. It really does. So, why are you tuning in? Yes, will I deliver this time? Surely I will. Why do we think time is continuous? Is it continuous? What is continuity? What are we even talking about? Who cares about time? Well, if you're interested in the universe as we are here, we are consulting the universe for wisdom. It's really that simple. I don't really think that that's spooky. Wisdom is a real thing. No matter what impression you get from our marvelous physicists who surely mean well, all the way down to Richard Dawkins. They have reasons for what they think, believe, and say. I don't argue with them. However, I too am just as made of the same flesh and blood as they are. And if they could be that fucking jackassed and say things that are just so mightily improbable, just not blink an eye, so can I. And I mean that with all my heart, because I don't represent just myself in this sentiment. I represent all of the school children too. You should be free to learn and understand whatever the universe is willing to tell you. But if you learn it from them, at first you have no choice. You have to learn it from them. That's how you learn, is from them. So the definition of being an adult, the old bar mitzvah thing, this dividing line between youth and manhood, I speak only for men, for reasons I've outlined, and the feminists love me, so don't ever think that I'm not beloved of all the sexes. I have no qualm. I've never had any trouble with any sex. Sex has always been marvelous to me. Anything you choose to do with sex, well, good. Good for you. Good for you. Whatever it is. I literally couldn't care less. So it's kind of like that in science. It's like I really couldn't care less about you and your opinions about God. You know, you just have a crybaby thing. It's just, I can't stand the fact that people believe in God. You know, you've got to warn them. You can't be a scientist. You'll never be like me. Oh my God, no, Richard Dawkins, don't say that. We want to be like you because you're rich. You're a rich fucker. Oh my God, you're eloquent. Everyone loves you. And we want to be like you. God hates me. God hates me. That's a little something from Esalen. I learned that at Esalen, oh yeah. I'm part owner in Esalen, okay? I used to live there. Well, up on the ridge. Well, not I personally, but another miller. I'm a miller. That's right. I make your bread. We millers, we lie low. Nobody cares about the millers, okay? There's a reason for that. Oh, they'll make sitcoms. They'll make a movie with the millers in it. It is sexual, perverted. That's fine. We're in on this too. Use us. Well, most people don't. They stay away from the fucking millers. You know why? Boring. Bakers. Boring. Carpenters, well... I mean, there's a lot, isn't there, really? But the millers, no. Nobody cares about the... Yeah, name some famous millers. Yeah, there's not many. There's Arthur Miller, an American author. I believe the author of Death in Venice, am I correct? Forgive me if I'm not that literate in that sense. I'm not that deep, okay? But, yeah. There's another Miller, Henry Miller. Henry Miller. Now there's a Miller. There's a Miller you can be proud of if you're a Miller like me, and I am a Miller like that, and I love Henry. Oh my MG. Oh my MG. Oh my God, yes. So he lived above Esalen, and he visited Esalen before it was called Esalen. What it was called before that was Slade's Hot Springs. So there's two names for it. It could be slates if you believe just one map. So it could be slates like the mineral slate, apostrophe S, slates. But it's Slades with a D, not a T. And it's the most famous place on the Big Sur coast, by far. There's that waterfall, though. The only freestanding waterfall on that stretch of the Pacific coast, which, don't forget, extends to South America. So, it's probably the only one for a long way. That's the safest thing to say. There's a freestanding waterfall into the ocean on the Big Sur coast. So what else of marvelous quality is on the Big Sur coast? A lot of wind. Whenever you go, you just expect to encounter wind, which is miserable by human natural standards. A wind of that consistency and velocity and fierceness is not conducive to picnics. You're not going to the Big Sur coast for a picnic unless you're very clever to get out of that hurricane wind that blows year-round. Slight exaggeration. Over the past week, I've been monitoring from their live cam the Big Sur coast. You can do this. Nepenthe has a live cam of one of the most beautiful views you'll ever see in your life on Earth. It's a view south from one of the promontories on the Big Sur coast, which is magnificently precipitous off the blue Pacific. It's blue there, not green around San Francisco. It's turquoise. So it's mightily gorgeous to look south from that prospect and see a big slice of the Big Sur coast from a live cam that you can leave a comment if you'd like me to leave a link. Otherwise, I don't want to get involved in anything that has to do with anything. This is smells of money or any other garbage. Oh, you violated a copyright by mentioning that shit. Well, forget it. No. You find it yourself. You could. Big Sur, Nepenthe. That's how you'll find it. So I just gave you the link. I gave you the link to the live cam on the Big Sur coast. And Henry Miller lived on Partington Ridge right above Esalen. When it wasn't Esalen, it was a hot springs. There's another hot springs that's associated with it. There are actually two other hot springs that are associated on the Big Sur coast. But one of them is on the other side of the coast range in the Ventana wilderness. And that's Tassajara. I've been there twice, to Tassajara. One of the most remote places that you can get to in California, certainly. Although that's saying a lot for California, I would have to add there are a few other contenders. But it's up there with the big boys on you're not going there unless you make a serious decision to get there. Because it's nobody's idea of a fun trip. It'll be the most hair-raising trip you've ever taken in your life. And it's quite a drive just to get to the 14-mile segment that goes 7 miles up and 7 miles down over dead men's bones into a labyrinth of cones in which I believe it would be possible to actually get lethally lost. You were just airdropped in there blind on some crazy SEAL mission, and now you have to get out? You might not. You would have to be one clever SEAL to get out of the Ventana wilderness, given certain restrictions on water time. Unless you reach water, you're going to die. You'll probably die if the airdrop is carefully... If I selected where to drop you, you'd die. Which I think is saying something, you know? So to have hot springs out in the middle of this wilderness is really a miracle of the great creator, as I don't mind saying here, since I'm scientifically supported on that statement. That's a sign of a creator, absolutely. A bubbling hot springs that's healthy for humans. Well, there's a reason I went there twice. Yeah, I mean, for Christ's sake, yes, I'm going there if I can. I did twice, but mamma mia. The first time it was in a VW Bug high on cocaine and the brakes gave out. That's a long ride, my friend. I was driving, and actually we exchanged, just see if the other one could do it better. And I don't know how many times we stopped and just looked at each other like, we're going to die, you know, where there's no way we can keep doing this. You want to take a turn at the wheel, honey? And it's like, okay, you know, and she did, and she had a miserable time too. We almost died at every single hairpin, just died. You know, there's no brakes in this VW Bug high on cocaine, and we snorted on the way down. Those are the days, man. I call them the days of wine and roses, because on any weekend you'd find us up in Sonoma, Napa. I hear Mendocino also produces wine. Alas, we never got that far north, but given time we would have. But our marriage ended after 10 years of just pure fun. And the first 9.8 years are great. The last 2 weeks, that's a bummer. But it ended amicably. I pleaded nolo contendere, which means you get everything. It's like exactly what the lawyer wants to hear on that side, who's probably a lesbian lawyer, given it's Santa Cruz. And her best friends were lesbians, so, you know. But she just found another boyfriend, and she's happy now. Oh, I've seen her since. She's fine. We don't dislike each other at all. But we certainly did not want to stay married together, and both of us knew that that time had come. It was just like 2 weeks. It just began, it just got, you know, morose or just negative, and then, you know, and then there was a small explosion, and then we settled, and now she's free. Oh, yeah, no, the man has to take some garbage. It's always the man's fault. Come on. Well, I believe it was in this case, and so she deserved everything. My God, she served as my sex slave. Oh, yeah. And she just loved it, and so we got along well. And I could go on there, you know, because I'd like to pander to the baser instincts of my audience to get more attention, but I think I've given you enough for one lifetime, don't you agree? Well, this is what I'm celebrating. I told you, I'm stoned. Let's see the eyes again. Well, man, you could still... My eyes just... It's unbelievable. When I first started smoking weed in my teens, it was just so embarrassing because my eyes would turn ruby red. I mean, you looked at me just a little scared. It's like, what? I saw this in other people's faces. I knew what they were seeing because I looked like, I was scared. God, no, it's a Visine. Well, you don't want to. I never trusted drugs. Aspirin, yes. Aspirin, Neosporin, sure. Drugs, no. You only take drugs if you're sick. I mean, yeah, fungal cream, you're going to need that, you know, if you're a real man. You need the fungal cream. You'll have to apply it diligently, and then it goes away. And try to have better hygiene in wherever it occurred, which is basically, oh, let's not go there. I'm celebrating, I told you, yes. But not with alcohol. No, the days of the beer, weren't they fun? I've produced some really hilarious sequences on beer. But really, in those days, which is upwards of a year ago, thank God. Over the past year, I've been doing well, but before that, the first 2 years, not really well at all. And with some magnificent exceptions, because I was trying hard. I was trying to get better. That's why I was doing this. Well, one reason, to get better, of course. Well, then I had several technological advancements due to the windfall I referred to earlier. Oh, the fire wasn't entirely negative upon me. I gotta say that. You know, you hate it. You don't want to die of smoke inhalation, which I'm gradually doing, and there's nothing I can do about it now. That's how I'll die. Of gradual smoke inhalation poisoning. And, well, you know, you gotta go... I've lived long enough. I made it. I'm close to the finish line. 70?
Now that's something. That's your first. You make 70, you did well. It's not great, but it's well. You want to make 80. I think that's a goal. My dad overshot it. So did my mom. Both made it into their 80s. Good deal, mom, dad. They died happy. I got to look into their eyes just before each of them died. They were happy. Can't ask for more than that. They did well. We all agree. Well, you know how families are. Not all agree, but it's always one. It's always. I think it's just. It's not a curse, but it feels like it sometimes. Just one member of the family. It could be two. Then you start checking. It's really all of them. They're all fucked up in some major way because you're part of a family. Well, there's going to be fuck ups, okay? Or you're not trying hard enough. That's really, how I view mistakes and errors and just shame and guilt. Well, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet. I mean, that's how it actually is, so why not just say it? That is how it works. You can't ride a bicycle without falling on your ass. It may hurt. You may do it so clumsily. It's really embarrassing to those who are trying to help you learn. And you end up being given that label, the big R. Oh yeah, that could happen in those days. He's retarded. It's a relative term. It wasn't as meant as harm, because we all used it. You're a retard? Well, that's quite a cut. Because it means you've retarded behind the pack. You're retarded with respect to, being in the lead. You're nowhere near the lead. You're like what everyone's trying not to be. You're that. You're the one that didn't understand. Everyone else is getting it. You're not. Well, sorry. We know what the word for that is, don't we? I don't agree with that, and I'm glad it's been changed. It really has been formally changed. Retard is no longer on the list. I totally agree with that, but I'm just saying that's how I was raised. Yeah, with an insider's point of view on retardedness, you got it. Well, you don't want that to stick. You got to find something that distinguishes you from the crowd so you're no longer retarded. It's really that simple. I don't see any, dog eat rat there, but it kind of turns into that if there's competition. Well, you're up against 10,000 other mathematicians who are trying to get into this distinguished university, and they'll take a look at your prospect, but it doesn't look good because it says there's a big red R on it, and they're just going to see that first. They'll put him with into the R pile, the big red R, and we'll get around to him if there's a shortage among the other 10,000 who do have prospects and don't have big red R's written over their resume. That R does not stand for resume, it stands for retard. I'm sorry, but that is the word we used. And, I'm glad that's changed. So it's not a crime to just mention that, or you would be against Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Oh, let's sweep that under the rug. Why drag up nasty memories? Well, here's the reason. It has to do with who you are now. I mean, do you understand how the world ticks along from day to day? Well, here's part of how it works. Just set up a giant prison camp and just murder tens of millions of people willy-nilly over the decades. Just take over Eastern Europe and just subject them to the same brutal treatment. Slave labor camps, just the Jews got lucky, most of them got away. You're not getting away from the commies. We'll just haul you off with Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the Nobel Prize winning in literature author, yes, who brought up some really nasty, naughty memories of what just happened in his home country. So then he produced another book called 100 Years Together about the Jews and Ukrainians. The Jews and the Ukrainians and the Russians. Because he's Russian, but so are the Ukrainians. They always have been Russians. But they are Ukrainians. So there's a war, of course. There always has to be a war if there's two truths. Oh, they are a nation, but they're also Russia. well, then they're gonna have a war, probably. Well, look, there is a war there. That explains that. Now it's time for you to come back. You're still part of us. Just reclaiming, just like the Chinese go down to Vietnam every 400 years. You know, the Japanese used to try to sail to Korea. The Koreans once tried to sail to Japan. There's stories that abound on these massive invasions. And then there follows the usual brutal treatment, mass executions. Just round them all up. The commies invaded somehow the minds of Chinese when they were a little bit weak. After being attacked by Japan, for God's sake, Japan attacked China. That's like a Chihuahua attacking a Doberman Pinscher. But they were winning. And of course, the rape of Nanking, that was going to be every single city in China. Rape, rape, rape. There's going to be rape, rape, rape. It's war, war, war. So now there's a big one in Israel, and nobody likes it now. But it's funny because nobody can really do anything about it. So every day it's just another Ukraine thing. Ukraine's been going on for 2 years now, and I think there's been like one almost exciting event. It's just trench warfare, the usual fire missiles, and just do nothing finally, and just sit there at war forever. That's what it's been in Israel. Only now they're finishing the job. And it's just a natural conclusion of any invasion. The Middle East was invaded by the Jews of Europe, apparently. It looks like it now. And they've set up their own little kingdom, and now they're exterminating the people that used to own it. And that's just another chapter in the sordid, nasty, ugly, but nothing new. It's not like, wow, that is just remarkably intolerable. That is just so beneath the dignity of humankind that we can't stand it. But, yeah, well, then you've got a real mental problem then. It is never going to stop. It's not going to end until they're all dead. It's getting close. It wouldn't take much to finish them off now. They could just, like, all drop dead pretty much any day. That's like 2 million. I don't know. They keep changing it because there's less and less. There's less and less Palestinians. There seem to be more and more Israelis. You see Israelis who just push it in and just nothing can stop them. They've already made up their mind. You've got to go. I mean, I hope we've made it clear you got to go. Get out of here. It's ours now. And they're just following. I mean, line up. They're not the first. They may be the last, though. So I do get into geopolitics. I think it's important to see the big picture. That certainly is big. Genocide ongoing under the eyes of the United Nations. Just stop it. Stop it. Say, no. No. Not going to stop it? What are you talking about, stop it? We're winning. Pretty soon it'll be over, and then, Solzhenitsyn of the Arabs can write his book. But they've got to go, Daddy-o. They're going to die. And it's very interesting for the American public, with their righteousness streak once again aroused against inhumanity. Well, get a therapist. I mean, what are you going to do? The United Nations can't stop them, okay? The United States not only won't stop helping them, it's helping them more and more. Like, yeah, finish the fucking job like we told you. Here from New York. Kill them. What's taking you so long? But you see, there's another part of that cabinet with another voice, and you can picture the Persian cat. Stop right there, and everyone freezes. We must not proceed too quickly. There's plenty of time to exterminate the Palestinians. time has shown that we must not force some overt reaction which could jeopardize the whole mission. Therefore, kill Bond. Dun 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 dun. That is the resurrection of Bond, okay? I got a whole script for that. And the new Star Trek, which is going to have sex right to begin with. Uhura and the captain have a fierce heterosexual relationship due to having been programmed by aliens to enjoy sex to its fullest degree. And so in the opening 10-minute sequence, it's going to be restricted viewing for pretty obvious reasons, because first of all, children won't even understand. They won't look. I know children. It can't hurt them. You can't hurt children even with sex, although they may have... you don't want to force them to understand something they're really not capable of understanding yet. That would be kind of cruel. So this is for adults only, absolutely. And you're going to pay through the nose for that form of security. Because if you show this to your children, first of all, they won't look. If they're normal children. But if they do look because they're just mesmerized by what they see, won't hurt them. Won't hurt you. The problem is you're going to want to get it on with your mate while you're watching this. There won't be any way around your erotic reaction. You're going to get a boner. She's going to get wet. You're going to just jump on each other and execute the sex that you now realize is possible. That's called eroticism. So it's not for children because they can't do anything with that. They don't even know. They're not really sure why you're doing what you're doing. They would catch on fast. Kids are smart. But then they'd have to put it into this bucket, which all kids have, and it saves them from a lot. They just go, well, that's something that'll have to wait. I'll have to wait until I'm 16, and then I'll probably understand that. I can do that. I can't write yet. I'm learning how to write. I'm learning how to do a lot of things. I know it takes time. So as for this, whatever is going on between Uhura and the captain, I think Mommy and Daddy understand because I see them doing what I've seen them do before. I think I should leave the fucking room. And the parents are like, we knew our kid was not retarded. Thank God for healthy children. And the kid just goes off and does crayons or whatever kids do. He's not going to sit there and watch this because there's no way to relate to it. You will definitely relate to it, and you better have privacy. And if you don't have a mate, I think you know what you could do anyway. I'm going to make sure that I do, or, be willing to. I'm not saying, because I don't want you to visualize that. I'm not Louis C.K., all right? Although I totally admire him. Oh, fuck. He got a lot of attention. He's back on, he's hitting it. Well, Louis, he's back. You can't put that guy, what do you mean, Louis C.K.? He's not going away. Really? What, did he have some sex things? Well, so did Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby's back. Tiger Woods, well, Tiger's back. They all come back. You had sex scandal, you're a man. It was, you were dragged through the mud, you're lower than the lowest form of amoebic life. Nobody can stand to look at you anymore, but you're back. I mean, that can happen in I call it Hollywood, I'm a California boy, all right, so Hollywood makes sense to me. I went to Disneyland twice. I have stories about all these things. But I'm happy, and I'm glad you tune in. If you listened through all this until now, leave a comment and say you're fucking hilarious or just like. Likes I actually do like now. I've always said I don't care whether you like or not. Definitely not subscribe. I couldn't care less if you subscribe. If you do, it could help others. If you think I'm worth your time of day, which apparently you do, so telling you the orders of the day is what you do. Yeah, get out there and make our name famous, damn it. You're one of us now. Well, let's see you show it. Get all field sergeant like, yeah, how about you run over to the enemy line right now and kill 3 of them gooks and then run back here? Yo, yeah, blam, 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 and then he does. That's you. I love you. I don't know who you are. Can't even guess. Yeah, just these putty-like faces out there with like two beady little eyes that have visual capacity. I can't focus on you. You have no real identity. You just like things that I count as like possible eyeballs just glaring, not understanding a goddamn thing. There's no idea why I'm even doing what I'm doing. Well, that can happen, you know. People get misunderstood because they try to be misunderstood. Have you ever noticed that? People need attention so bad that they'll just like make up ways to get you to look at them and keep listening. Like, I got another story for you. See, I picture eternity this way. And the people who like are over me, that control me, or what, because I hope someone controls me, they're like, here's another story for you, Sam. You love these stories, don't you? And I'm like, fuck yeah, because I always come. When I hear these stories, they're always pornographic. So I love the aliens, because they know me. They can make me come. I'm getting therapy for this, you saw. Yeah. This cures what you just heard. I need another hit, obviously. Yeah, you get addicted. You need this more than you even need oxygen after a while. There's no form of addiction stronger than this. It's called weed. And many other names. Maria. Isn't that beautiful? Just the whole Spanish language. I'm so proud to be a Californian and know the Mexicans or Spaniards or whatever they call themselves. The gauchos. Right? I think they're the gauchos. The gauchos of California. They pick our strawberries, and fuck, do I appreciate that? I wouldn't do it. They have backs of steel. Absolutely patient. They know what to do with money. They bring it back home. Yeah, they have starving children, okay? So they bring that money that they worked hard for back home. Well, that's not hurting our economy, okay? That's not hurting our economy at all. You want more and more of those. You want more and more of those. Isn't that a threat? You know what it is? It's a demographic that changes, and the politicians observe this and have to do something about it. Well, the demographic is changing. Well, now they have something to fight about. So they form two factions over this, illusory issue, and give it highfalutin names like, yeah, we got to stop the immigration because you're just hurting the American worker down there. You're like, what are you out of your mind? It's the only thing that makes the system work, and it's great. It works. Leave it alone. They take the money back home. Well, you know how much money they take back home? It's not billions of dollars. You want to cut the budget? Look at the military, yeah. Get your eyes off of the fucking things that are actually working. Immigration is great. Oh, do they want to live here? Well, I wonder why. They'd be closer to work, for God's sake. Well, I don't know. Ask them what they want to live in. Say, well, we're going to have to build homes for you because there's going to be millions of you and more every year. So how about we make things so that you actually benefit, can become citizens, and work with us? The fuck's wrong with that? Here, your wages are going to be cut. You're going to have special citizenship. Your wage will be half that of anyone else, but you're willing to do it, so okay. Well, that's not slavery. They want to. It's as good as slavery. I mean, you give them half the amount of money that anybody else ever gets. Well, if they're going to take it back home, make their home in the United States, then they earned it. What the hell else do you ask for immigrants, for fuck's sake? They're earning their way in. Well, you know why? According to the politicians, they're going to have children. Well, of course they're going to have children. They live here. Well, apparently that changes the demographic, and now there has to be a political fight, and so immigration is an issue because they need issues. But that's not anybody's idea of the real issue at national level. It's nothing to do with the nation. It has to do with California, Arizona, Texas, and Florida. That's about it. It could spread. It should spread. It should be everywhere. That's what our nation was founded on. It works. What the hell is wrong with that? That's how you got here. So I'm totally in favor of Maria. Maria, I just met a girl named Maria. I did not get Puff the Magic Dragon. This is a true story. By the way, I've never heard the Brady Bunch theme. There are many who doubt that because that does not seem realistic. I must have heard the Brady Bunch theme. I'm actually certain that I have, because in retrospect, I know that that's what I had been listening to, but I didn't listen to it. So I still don't know what it is. But I'm pretty sure I've heard it. It's just that it's not memorable. So I still say that I've never heard the Brady Bunch theme. So I could talk about movies. I love talking about movies. This is when your mind starts to drift because you're fatigued after an hour and a half. So I gotta go. But thank you for tuning in. And this is Anagalactic. I'll give you that definition of time. I've been promising it for 2 years, so you know I'm going to do it. All right, we'll be right back. Keep looking up when you get a chance at night. Best time spent on Earth.